African Goju anthem. Stand up. Stand? Yes. Please stand for the African Goju anthem.
We are from Martial Arts Institute. We begin not to end, but to continue. Even though we are strong, we will not fight if we are wrong. We will fight to protect our rights. African Goju is the name, self-defense is the game. We will roar and loose till we can't no more, and we swear not to abuse our country's law.
Many have heard about African Goju, but very few know how it all began. This two-part documentary will unfold the history. The Martial Arts Institute is the parent body of African and South American Goju. It was formed in 1975, in Accra, Ghana, by Danny Guerra, with appreciable input from founding members Kenneth Guerra, Reginald Guerra, Donald Guerra, Soli Matlu, and Errol Ramadan. Starting with teaching schools, it has now expanded and has over 10,000 students in 36 countries.
As more and more children join African and South American Goju, the future looks bright. We will endeavor to give them the best training possible to take them into the adult world. Ross.
Danny Guerra, the founder, started his martial arts journey with boxing, fencing, judo and jiu-jitsu in his schools Yateley Manor and Queen's College Taunton in the United Kingdom from 1961 until 1970. In 1969 he became the West of England junior judo champion before moving to Ghana. He immediately joined a judo club under the guidance of Swiss master Veit and was persuaded by fellow judo member Hani Zahabi to start learning taekwondo, which was then being taught by Ivorian Simon Zagore, who was a first-generation student of Korean 6th Dan Taekwondo master Kim Young-tae in the Ivory Coast. Master Kim is the one accredited with bringing taekwondo to West Africa in the 60s. Hani, who was instrumental in bringing Simon Zagore to Ghana from the Ivory Coast in 1968, later grouped together with other Lebanese Ghanaian taekwondo practitioners to bring Kim Young-tae to Ghana and award black belts in 1973. When Simon left Ghana in 1974, he left a vacuum in taekwondo teaching which was filled by Hanne Zahabi, Najib Arnaout and Danny Guerra, who continued teaching the many students that were left by Simon's departure. Hani was presented with the African Goju Honorary Black Belt at the 50th Anniversary Award Ceremony of the Martial Arts Institute. In the name of progress, Danny Guerra decided to leave Taekwondo in 1975 and changed to Shotokan, which was then the major martial art in the United Kingdom. Najib Arnaout gave up on his teaching and Hanne Zahabi continued teaching Taekwondo, but was unable to do it alone. Taekwondo was in disarray and Naval Commander Dadzi used his influence in the armed forces to gather the many Taekwondo practitioners together under one umbrella to form a Taekwondo federation. This was recognized by the Korean government, who sent Master Guak and other instructors to Ghana, and by 1978, a Taekwondo federation was in operation. It seemed, however, that a concerted effort was made by the new instructors to distort the history of Taekwondo in Ghana, as no mention was made of Simon Zagore or Kim Young-tae. Many of those who had learnt Taekwondo under Simon were abandoned. Some chose to follow Danny Guerra and the Martial Arts Institute into Shotokan, and others gave up completely. Danny decided to change to Shotokan because he felt he needed to expand his martial arts knowledge and did not like the changes made to Taekwondo by the new instructors from Korea. Padding protection was introduced and sweeping the opponent was banned, turning Taekwondo more into a sport with the view of entering the Olympics. This was eventually achieved in the Olympic Games of Seoul 1988. Danny traveled back to the United Kingdom in 1975 and took Shotokan lessons from Professor Keinosuke Inoida and John Anderson at the Marshall Street Baths and the famous Budokwai in London. By 1976, the Martial Arts Institute was learning Shotokan, which offered different combat techniques to Taekwondo. There were 28 schools being taught by the founder, Kenneth Guira, Reginald Guira, Errol the Turk Ramadan and the South African Solly Matlu, including an all-girls club in Legon University, culminating in more than 2,000 students. The liveliest schools were Adisadel College, Fantsipim and St. Augustine's in Cape Coast, which ushered in the likes of Donald Guira, Bernard Rawlins, Duke Banson, Henry Anshiro Faye, James Hansen Saki, Charles Ankuma, Patrick Aduamankwa, Kobe Boadu and Kwesi Bentham. Legon, Cape Coast and Kumasi universities also featured prominently, producing great martial artists Josiah Christian, Jude Aduamankwa, Arthur Decker and Ernest Wang Yu Ako, who used to break cement blocks with his bare hand. In 1976, 1978 and 1979, the founder traveled to the United States and took lessons from the kung fu film actor and founder of Chinese Goju, Ron Van Cleef. It was there and then that he got the idea about African Goju from Ron Van Cleef. In 1979 he brought Ron Van Cleef to Ghana. Several shows were organized in Accra, Takoradi and Kumasi. The Martial Arts Institute was now doing both Shotokan and Chinese Goju.
The following warriors and Amazons were incorporated into the Hall of Fame for their indelible and outstanding contribution to the Martial Arts Institute, African Goju and South American Goju. Congratulations! We are proud of everything you have done, aware of the sacrifices you have made and grateful for your continuous support. The future will make you proud to have been a big part of the history. Thank you. Roars.
The first show by the Institute was organized in December 1975 at Legon University to herald the opening of 2 clubs there, one of which showcased the talents of the all-girls club and also produced excellent martial artists in Brenda Phillips, Karen Akinwumi and Sylvia Lati. Throughout that period Caroline Guira proved herself the best female martial artist. 2 other females, the American Celia Pedersen and the exciting Evelyn Amankwa, also featured prominently, preferring to train only with boys, and both achieved their black belts. The idea for the book Goju, The Roar of the Tigress, originated from this era. Ken Guira and Solly Matlu pioneered martial arts in the armed forces by teaching the police, the Navy, and the Army. One of their students was Commander Dadzi, who later became the influence behind modern Taekwondo in Ghana. They also taught the bodyguards of the then heads of state General Achempong and General Akufo, and famously performed a show for General Akufo, a day after he had become the new head of state after overthrowing General Achempong. On that day, Henry Anshiro Faye's jumping front kick followed by a back somersault impressed the army brass so much he was asked to repeat it. Reginald Guira also went on a special course in England in 1976 and obtained a black belt in Shotokan. He later moved to France and opened a club in the American School in Paris. The founder visited his club and was impressed by what he saw. The first Ghana All-Styles Karate competition was also held in 1979 and were organized yearly until 1982 by Donald Guira. James Hansen Saki Abi Bata was the first overall champion of champions. He was so big and strong, it was difficult for any of the students to beat him. The tough uncompromising Duke Banson, the stylish Henry Anshiro Faye and the wily Togbo Koli Harbour, nicknamed Andre, who later took Goju to Côte d'Ivoire, also proved their tremendous fighting instincts. The brave Shirley Owu fought well but was no match for Caroline Guira. The 1982 competition saw the emergence of Moses Baden, Michael Boateng Mensah, Melvin Brown, Samuel Akwa, and the Insaka brothers, who were the first Pee Wee, Junior, champions. After that, a merit system based on all the clubs in the Martial Arts Institute was used instead of tournaments to determine the winners of certain categories because students were never satisfied with competition results. Here is a message from warrior Kwesi Bentham, who is quick to thank great warrior Reg Guira for his initial training, which has kept him fit and strong. He recently won a 5-kilometer race. Roars.
My name is Kwesi Bentham, and I'm happy to say that Warrior Guira is one of my Adisade College classmates. Warrior Guira earned the distinguished reputation of introducing martial arts to Adisco and other high schools in Cape Coast in the mid-70s. I participated briefly in his Taekwondo classes, and after the Adisade years, continued with Taekwondo under the tutelage of Commander Dazi, who was trained by Warrior Guira. Years later, I resumed training in Taekwondo at the Black Belt Academy in Tacoma, Washington, built on my experience with Warrior Guira and Commander Dazi, and worked hard to earn my black belt. Throughout the journey to black belt, I didn't forget about Warrior Guira's goal of making his students excellent martial artists. Thank you, Warrior Guira, for your initial inspiration.
Martial Arts Institute is now 50 years old, and happily, the founding members are still here, fit and healthy to tell their tales. Here in their own words are great warriors Kenneth Guira, Reginald Guira, Donald Guira and Soli Matlu, describing the early days of learning, organizing tournaments, teaching schools and the security forces in Ghana. Their contribution remains indelible and will never be forgotten by the future of African and South American Goju.
Hello, I am Great Warrior Ken Guira. I'm very happy today to tell you about Martial Arts Institute that was started 50 years ago. I want to thank you and welcome you to this documentary. I know you hear many stories about us jumping onto trotros and all kinds of different vehicles to get to our destination, from Accra to Kumasi, Accra to Cape Coast, to all the secondary schools to teach the students. But let me tell you a true story that happened to me. I was a student at the University of Ghana, Legon, and I had a karate club there. One day, a black belt who had a higher degree than I did came into our club. And out of respect, I said, he can teach the students. Everything went well and he left. A week later, the same black belt came again and he wanted to take over the class. I said, no, not this time. You know what touched my heart the most? The students, all lower belts, from white belt to perhaps blue belt, they all gathered around me and supported me. Members of our Martial Arts Institute, I want to thank you for the friendships, the comradeships, and the altogether good showmanship. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you for supporting yourself. Raw.
Great warrior Ken Guira began his martial arts training in 1973 when he trained with Danny Guira in Taekwondo. He was one of the original members of the Martial Arts Institute, which was founded in 1975 by Danny Guira. Along with the rest of the institute, he changed to Shotokan in 1975, Chinese Goju in 1979 and finally to African Goju in 1985. Ken was of great assistance to the institute in the early days as regards to the teaching of schools and universities in Ghana and was the one who coined our motto, "We begin not to end, but to continue." He was first to be inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1975. Ken, along with Reg Guira and Solly Matlu, pioneered martial arts in the Ghana Armed Forces by teaching the police, the Navy, and the Army. They also taught the bodyguards of the then heads of state Colonel Achimpong and General Akufo. A very good fighter, his greatest attribute was the speed of his legs and kicks, which came about because of his 2-hour-a-day kicking practice routines. His flying reverse kick was a joy, the speed of which was never matched. In 1975 he was the best fighter, executed the best breaking by demolishing 20 roofing tiles and performed the best self-defense with Solly Matlu, which undoubtedly made Ken the martial artist of the year. The duo repeated the feat the following year in 1976. In 1977, he performed the best kata, which was the Shotokan kata Kankudai. He became a first-degree black belt in 1975, a second-degree black belt in 1976 and a third-degree black belt in 1978 and eventually became a great warrior and a life patron in 2010. In the 90s, he made a name for himself as an innovative sculptor and moved to the United States to broaden his education. He diversified into poetry and painting, but continued to train and kept himself very strong and fit. This talented poet, sculptor, painter and martial artist, is the originator of the "Woman is Key" movement and has also designed some new concept training and leisure shoes. He plays an active role in support of women and has launched an appeal for breast cancer awareness and is currently on a crusade against female genital mutilation. We are now here celebrating 50 years of the Martial Arts Institute and 40 years of African Goju, and we are immensely grateful for everything he has done for the Martial Arts Institute and continues to do in the name of African Goju. He will always be a legend in our history. In recognition for this, the Hall of Fame was renamed the Ken Guira Hall of Fame, and an award plaque of gratitude has been given to all members who greatly contributed to the history and development of the Martial Arts Institute. Thank you, great warrior Ken, for everything. Roars.
All right, well, hello there. First of all, I'd like to give honor and glory to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, through whom this journey has been made possible. Who would have thought that I'd be standing here recounting my part of the journey, which began 50 years ago when I was a teenager. I got interested in the martial arts when I was 12 years old. And I remember my older brother Danny used to train at the rooftop of the apartment building that we lived in. And I would go up there and watch him from time to time. Then one day I said, yes, I think I want to learn Taekwondo. But all I'm interested in is doing those flying kicks. He looked at me, and I could tell he was amused. Then he said to me something like, but you've got to learn how to walk. Okay. So by the time I was 15, I was a brown belt. And it was that same year that my older brother Danny launched the Martial Arts Institute. So we went to many of the secondary schools and taught there. I was responsible for Infansipim Secondary School in Cape Coast, Agri Memorial Secondary School, which was also in Cape Coast, and Laboni Secondary School in Accra, and Lincoln International School in Accra, along with my private students. So once a week on Saturdays, we took public transportation 90 miles to Cape Coast. Infansipim in the morning and Agri Memorial in the afternoon. And I remember that the gym was not available to us for training on those Saturdays. So we had to train on the soccer fields, open air soccer fields in the blazing hot sun. Whew, I remember it was hot. But, you know, it toughened us up for sure, and it builds character. After secondary school, I moved to Paris and attended the American College in Paris, where I continued to teach Shotokan and Chinese Goju. When I graduated college, I moved to the United States to pursue my education, and I got a master's degree in business from Howard University, and where I continue to live. Yeah. And I continue to train. Here I am in my 60s, and I can still pack a mean punch. I have a good kick, but I think I'll leave the competition to the next generation as we pass the baton on to them. Ross.
Great warrior Reginald Guira began his martial arts training in 1974 when he trained with Danny Guira in Taekwondo. He was one of the original members of the Martial Arts Institute, which was founded in 1975 by Danny Guira. Along with the rest of the institute, he changed to Shotokan in 1975, Chinese Goju in 1979 and finally to African Goju in 1985. Reg was of great assistance to the institute in the early days as regards to the teaching of schools and universities in Ghana and was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1980. Reg, along with great warriors Kenneth Guira and Solly Matlu, pioneered martial arts in the armed forces by teaching the police, the Navy and the Army. One of their students was the Chief of Naval Staff, Commander Ken Dadzi, who later became the influence behind modern Taekwondo in Ghana. They also taught the bodyguards of the then heads of state Colonel Achempong and General Akufo and famously performed a show for General Akufo, a day after he had become the new head of state after overthrowing General Achempong. A very tough and uncompromising fighter, he acquired the nickname Bolo, after the famous Chinese kung fu star Bolo Yeung. He had such hard hands that he was the first to break the strong red clay bricks with a knife hand chop. In 1976 he went on a Shotokan course in the United Kingdom which greatly improved his overall fighting skills and mental toughness, and returned to Ghana to win the Best Kata Award with the Shotokan Kata Basai Dai. In 1977 and 1978, he won the Best Weapons Award with the 6-foot bow staff and also performed the Best Self-Defense with Solly Matlu. In 1980, he again won the Best Weapons, was the Best Middleweight, the Best Fighter and the Martial Artist of the Year. He became a first-degree black belt in 1976, a second-degree black belt in 1977 and a third-degree black belt in 1979 and eventually became a great warrior and a life patron in 2010. He is also a recipient of the Ken Guira Hall of Fame plaque, and the Martial Artist of the Year trophy is now called the Reg Guira Martial Artist of the Year. In the early 80s, Reg moved to Paris, France and taught Chinese Goju as well as Shotokan in the American School in Paris, thereby sowing the seeds of African Goju in that country. He later moved to the United States where he continues to train and remains very strong and fit. The institute was honored by his presence at the 2022 African Goju Award ceremony in Ghana. We are now here celebrating 50 years of the Martial Arts Institute and 40 years of African Goju, and we are immensely grateful for everything he has done. He will always be a legend in the history of African and South American Goju. Thank you, great warrior Reg, for everything. Much appreciated. Roars.
We begin not to end, but to continue. Roar! These are the salutations of the Martial Arts Institute and African Goju, who are celebrating 50 years and 40 years respectively this year, 2025. My journey with Martial Arts Institute and African Goju began before 1975. In the early 1970s, I accompanied my older brother Danny Jura to his judo training sessions at a club in Accra Central. He was a West England judo champion during his early schooling in the UK, 1968 to 1970. So this was an extension of his workout routine. I did not join him in training as I had no experience or interest in judo. A Taekwondo, which is a Korean martial arts club, also opened in Accra, so Danny, a sports enthusiast, joined. This time I trained with him, not at the club, but on the rooftop of our apartment in Ringway Estate. I practiced hand blocks and kicks. In 1973, I entered secondary school at Atisada College, so my training sessions were reduced to once a week since it was a boarding school and located outside of Accra. In 1975, when the Martial Arts Institute was founded by Danny Jura with support from his younger siblings and a longtime family friend, Solly Matlow, the training became more formalized with my older brother Ken traveling from Accra once a week to teach us at school. During the school holidays, I trained with my siblings and martial arts enthusiasts at our training grounds in Naboni and later at the dreaded Ambok House in Adaraka, where only the brave and hardy students dared to train. As the youngest brother among Danny's siblings, I had the opportunity to learn from their diverse martial arts expertise, which helped me develop a style that suited my temperament and body type. Danny was big, strong and muscular, full of energy and enthusiasm. Ken, while smaller, was incredibly quick with both his feet and hands. Reggie was stable and formidable in combat, demonstrating great power. Sully, on the other hand, possessed remarkable mental strength and had hard bones, making it very difficult to block his kicks and punches during sparring. As a result, I focused on learning how to evade his strikes and to look for clean openings to strike. The Martial Arts Institute, led by Danny and his younger siblings, aged between 12 and 22 years when it was founded, made significant impact on the history of martial arts in Ghana. Not only were they young to have shouldered the responsibility of traveling at the crack of dawn to teach in schools in Cape Coast, Sekeli Takrady, Kumasi and Accra, but they also provided training to the Ghana Army, Air Force, and personal bodyguards of former head of state, General Achampon. This phenomenon of training and conducting demonstrations spread across the country, climaxed in a notable martial arts demonstration in 1979 that featured renowned martial arts artist and film actor, the Black Dragon, Professor Ron Pancliffe, founder of Chinese Goju in Ghana. The Institute also organized 3 Ghana All-Stars Karate Championships in the early 1980s. I began my journey in martial arts with Taekwondo. Then I progressed to Shotokan, Japanese Karate, and then to Chinese Goju. My training and teaching continued while I was in college at the American University in Paris, France, and carried on in the United States of America at the Wozin Dojo in Laurel, Maryland, and Georgetown, Washington, D.C., while studying for a master's degree from Howard University. In 1985, when Danny founded African Goju, this style became the final step in my martial arts journey. I have since achieved the rank of 7th-degree black belt in African Goju. This journey has been incredibly rewarding, both professionally and personally. Katas, which are a series of movements designed to help an individual defend against multiple attackers, starts and ends in the same position or spot. When applied to the business environment, katas offer a useful framework for evaluating goals, objectives, and outcomes. By visualizing the process and retracing your steps or thought processes, you can effectively assess your results from the beginning. On the personal level, I've remained fit and training regularly. I walk 5 kilometers a day when I can, eat healthy, and maintain a positive outlook on life. Roar!
Great warrior Donald Guira began his martial arts training in Ghana in the mid-70s in Adisadel College and was the most promising new martial artist in 1977. He studied Taekwondo under Danny Guira before changing to Shotokan, Chinese Goju and finally African Goju. He became a black belt under the Martial Arts Institute in 1979 and achieved the 2nd-degree black belt in 1980. When he left Ghana, he continued teaching and training and was the one who set up the Martial Arts Institute's form of training, which later became known as African Goju, at the American College in Paris and later in the United States. To this day, his influence can still be felt around both countries as his students have continued to train and teach others. He obtained the 3rd-degree black belt in 1985, his 4th-degree black belt in 1989, and his 5th-degree black belt 1995. He was inducted into the African Goju Warrior Hall of Fame in 1990 and became a great warrior and a life patron in 2010. A flying kick specialist, he won the best breaking in 1979 and his feat of jumping over 12 people and breaking a 2-inch thick tile has never been equaled. In 1980 he had the best kata and the best breaking. In 1981 he performed the best katas and the best self-defense demonstration with warrior Solly Matlu and was also the martial artist of the year. From 1982, breaking, 1983, katas, 1984, self-defense demonstration, and 1985, breaking, he was consistently on the awards podium. The Breaking Award was renamed the Donald Guira Breaking Award in his honor. Donald famously performed his flying kick at the Burma camp in Ghana where the Martial Arts Institute did a karate demonstration for the army, which included the Ghanaian head of state General Akufo on the day he overthrew General Achampong in a palace coup. Donald, along with great warriors Solly Matlu, Kenneth Guira and Reginald Guira were also responsible for training the personal bodyguards of the former head of state General Kudu Achimpong in sections of the Ghana Army, Navy, Police and Border Guards. Over the years he has kept himself fit and strong and has successfully transferred his martial arts skills into the business world, where he is now a high-flying telecommunications executive who has won many awards in business, including being recognized as one of the most impactful CSR leaders in the world. He is also involved in coaching and mentoring and is a corporate communication consultant and a board member for the Kandifo Institute. He says in the book, Leading Coherently, Reflections from Leaders Around the World, to achieve a successful goal, one has to use steps A, B, C, D, E, etc., and then retrace those steps backwards E, D, C, B, A to make sure everything is covered. Katas are a series of movements that one uses to defend against several attackers. Most katas begin and end on the same spot, and this process has worked for me. He was recently voted in as Vice President of the Institute of Public Relations in Ghana. We are now here celebrating 50 years of the Martial Arts Institute and 40 years of African Goju, and Danny Guira, the founder, is immensely grateful for everything he has done and continues to do in the name of African Goju. Over the years, he has been instrumental behind the scenes, organizing fights, events and award ceremonies. Well done, great warrior Donald, and thank you for everything you are doing for African Goju. The future will make you proud to have been a big part of the past. You are an African Goju legend. Roars.
everyone. This is Amazon Caroline Anani taking you down memory lane to go through the activities of Martial Arts Institute and African Goju. In 1975, the Martial Arts Institute was started by my eldest brother, Daniel Jura, who later founded his own style, African Goju, in 1985. As we celebrate 50 years of the Martial Arts Institute and 40 years of African Goju, I would like to go down memory lane, as I indicated, to reminiscent on activities over the past years. My three other brothers had also joined the Martial Arts Institute, and being the only sister amongst them, I joined out of obligation, not out of the love for the sport. I just entered secondary school by then, so during trainings I could only do that during the vacation. We were training at Hamburg House in Adaraka, and that's where we had all our training. The funny thing is, during our trainings, I was the only girl amongst them, and for that matter, I had to train with the boys. So katas, self-defense, sparring were all done with the boys. There were no girls, or there was not a girl to pair with me to do the sparring or to do any of the activities. The worst part was the sparring, because the boys had very hard bones, and each time I could not block, then it means those hard kicks and punches would land on me. That meant I had to endure weeks of massaging to get all the swelling down. We were training every day, so you can imagine the number of swellings and bruises I had on my hands and my legs. I contemplated many times to quit because I found the training not to be gender sensitive. They were treating me just like the boys, and for that matter, I wanted to end everything. However, I found out later in life that acquiring a skill is not expected. Sometimes acquiring a skill is not expected to be gender specific or gender sensitive. So I endured and I continued, and I was able to take part in several demonstrations. One significant demonstration we had was in 1979, when an African American, a renowned African American by the name Professor Ron Van Cleef, came to Ghana. We had a demonstration both in Accra and in Kumasi. He was also a film actor, and he acted in the film The Black Dragon. I also took part in 3 Ghana All-Styles Karate Championships in the early 1980s. The few ladies who came on board to compete with me had very difficulties in doing so, because I had toughened up and my bones were as hard as the boys. So my kicks and my punches were not easy for them at all. All in all, I won in all those competitions, and that made me to start loving the game. No longer an obligation, but a love for the martial arts. All in all, it's been a wonderful experience, and I'm glad I did not quit. As our slogan goes, we begin not to end, but to continue. I've transitioned from Taekwondo to Shotokan to Chinese Goju and now African Goju. And now I'm a holder of a 4th Dan black belt in African Goju. Oh.
Amazon Caroline began her martial arts journey in the mid-70s when she was trained in Taekwondo by her eldest brother Danny Guerra. She continued with her siblings into Shotokan in 1977, Chinese Goju in 1979, and finally to African Goju in 1985. She was involved in the show for the Ghanaian head of state General Akufo in 1978, and was always part of the Institute's elite team, and took part in the shows when Ron Van Cleef came to Ghana. She was the first female to achieve black belt in African Goju, gaining the first-degree black belt in 1987 at the Community Center Club, thus becoming the first African Goju Amazon.
She was inducted into the African Goju Warrior Hall of Fame in the same year, and eventually reached her 4th degree black belt. Karo, as she was popularly known, became the most feared female martial artist when she won the first Ghana All-Styles Full Contact competition in 1979 and repeated the feat in 1980, 1981, and 1982. A tough fighter with a lethal back kick, she was the best female martial artist from 1978 until 1984 and again in 1986 and 1987. She is only one of 12 female students to be awarded the Ken Guira Hall of Fame plaque. Karo still keeps fit and practices her techniques, and performed a kata demonstration at the Big Afro fights organized by warrior Masudi Salami in Takoradi, Ghana. In 2023, she performed a kata with her son Nana, and won the George Heward Mills Kata Award at the age of 60. Even now, it would be a brave or foolish woman who would dare challenge her to a fight. As one of the top executives of Ghana's education system, the students know never to mess with her. Well done, Amazon Caroline, for all the hard training you went through. You remain an inspiration to all past, present and future women in African Goju and the martial arts in general. A truly hard act to follow. Thank you. Ross.
Caroline Anani.
Warrior Wellington Baden was one of our students from the early 70s. He is now a successful businessman who has opened his own wellness retreat in Ghana. Here is his input. Ross.
Sensei, happy 50th and congratulations. I remember way back in the day, 74 through to 77, training with you, Caroline, Ivor, Reggie, Donald, Ken, Solly, a whole bunch of guys. The strict regime of kicks, punches, calisthenics, followed by katas. Evenings, Mondays to Fridays for 3 hours solid. That kind of got ingrained and gave me the discipline to keep exercising and practicing all of these years. Set the foundation for knowing that to be able to achieve anything of note, you had to have a sound, strong and healthy body. So, Raw, on your 50th anniversary and transitioning to African Goju, I'm here in the forest. I was expecting that you guys would be able to join, but I guess once again you couldn't make it this time. But I'm still looking forward to all of you coming out here, coming to see, because as part of our plans, we want to put up a wellness center out here where people can come for wellness retreats, which of course would include African Goju, Qigong, yoga, all things that bring mind, body, soul together. So thank you for all the training, for all the instruction, and thank you for brotherhood and friendship through the years. To you and the whole family, I say salute.
Here is what happened with Arthur Decker, who became one of our many success stories. Ross.
Here is Warrior Grandmaster Arthur Decker with his Hall of Fame award plaque. Warrior GM Arthur Decker was one of the original Martial Arts Institute students in Ghana, learning Shotokan and Taekwondo, as a member of the University of Science and Technology Club in the 70s. He went on to study Kyokushinkai in the UK before he eventually settled in Canada, where his previous martial arts experience came into good use, as he quickly rose to the top and participated in local and international tournaments and became a grandmaster. He won 4 Grand Championship titles in the Pan American Games and retired as undefeated and undisputed champion. An amazing record. He still resides and trains in Canada in Chinese wrestling under Grandmasters Stephen and Sunny Chow, and has added African Goju to his extensive repertoire. He is quick to thank Professor Danny Guira for all the training which prepared him for his success. In his own words, he says, "Thanks for adding me to the list of the Hall of Fame. It has been a long journey full of lovely and deadly experiences, and I stand here as a testament to your martial arts philosophy and teachings. All I can say is, thank you. I will work hard to help bring the African Goju system to the forefront." Roars. Well done, Warrior Grandmaster Arthur. You have certainly come a long way and have been able to put your skills to good use. African Goju is and will always be proud of you. Welcome to the Hall of Fame. Roars.
Great warrior James Hansen Saki is now one of the main propagators of African Goju training in the UK. Here is what he had to say. Ross.
Ross, Professor Danny Jura, I salute you. I want to appreciate you for bringing us along for 50 years. I appreciate you. You've brought us a long way. You have brought me a long way. Respect to you and the family. I want to salute all the young warriors of African Goju that learn to appreciate what you've been taught and train hard and appreciate what is being taught to you. Because time is for a moment. Appreciate the time that you train and train very hard and work hard because you are the future. The future belongs to you. Danny, I appreciate you. I salute you. We've come a long way. It was just for a moment. Now look at how we are, how old and how far you have brought us. Ross to African Goju. Many more years ahead of us. Mokso to the young warriors of African Goju. We begin not to end, but to continue. I salute you, Danny. I salute you.
Great warrior James Hansen Saki began his martial arts training in the 70s when he was a member of the Martial Arts Institute, Fantsipim School Club. During the holidays he continued training under Danny Guira at the Ambog House Club. He was one of the few members who started with Shotokan through to Chinese Goju and finally to African Goju. He is currently one of the best exponents of African Goju in the United Kingdom. He was one of the elite members who took part in all the training and shows when Ron Van Cleef, the famous martial arts movie star and founder of Chinese Goju, came to Ghana in 1979. A big, strong and skillful fighter feared by many, he was also a very humble individual who took his training seriously and would never use his power without a very good reason. In 1978 he was the best fighter, the best heavyweight and performed the best breaking, which undoubtedly made him the martial artist of the year. He quickly moved up the grades and became a first-degree black belt in 1978. He achieved the second-degree black belt in 1979 and the third-degree black belt in 1980 before moving to the UK, where he used his training and experience to good effect by making a name for himself in the martial arts world. He was inducted into the Warrior Hall of Fame in 1998 for his loyalty to the Martial Arts Institute and has since continued to help and encourage the development of African Goju in the United Kingdom. He received the 4th degree black belt in 1990, his 5th degree in 2004 and became a great warrior and grandmaster in 2011. We are now here celebrating 40 years of African Goju and 50 years of the Martial Arts Institute, and we are immensely grateful for everything he has done and continues to do in the name of African Goju. Well done, James, for everything you have achieved. The new breed of African Goju students will always look to the past heroes for inspiration, and you are a very good role model for them to follow. Ross. Some words of wisdom from warrior Daniel Obiriaboa, one of our top fighters who transitioned seamlessly into African Goju Ghana and now resides in the UK. There will be more about him in part 2. Ross.
Hello guys, this is Daniel Obiriaboa. First of all, I want to thank everybody in our wonderful organization, the Martial Arts Institute, for your dedication and your love for keeping us going all these years. We have years. Wow, that's amazing. First of all, I started martial arts when I was about 15 or something like that. I've always loved to be able to protect myself. I started my martial arts when I was a teenager, and with Daniel and with Edouard Mankwa, both of them, Patrick and then Jude. And it was fun until later on in life when I understood martial arts pretty well. Until I met Prof, it was very challenging because I saw him on TV when he was with Roman Cliff, the Black Dragon. And I said to myself, wow, I want to see him. Well, so that is how dedicated I was. And that's how dedicated all of you have been in the whole 50 years. And I really appreciate all of you. Well, so I thank you, and I thank Prof for bringing us up in such a very challenging environment. Sometimes self-defense can be very confusing, because the thing is, it's very easy to hurt than to defend. So I employ everybody to exercise what is called impulse control. Just be careful when you act, because you are lethal. And, you know, before you do anything, just be mindful of your actions so that you don't end yourself in situations that you don't anticipate. So thank you so much on our 50th, and God bless you, and God bless everyone. Those that I forgot to thank, including Ken, is a lovely is a lovely sensei. So Michael Boateng, yes, that I've sparred with for many years, and he's a good friend. And everybody, don't forget that we have to love to be able to get this platform going. Thank you so much. That's all that I can say. Ross.
Finally, warrior Alfred Ogo, one of the stalwarts of African Goju in Ghana, gives his honest reasons about why he joined African Goju. Ross.
After years of fantasizing over the old Chinese movies, I decided to do something about it. A name had been mentioned over the years in school. Danny. So one day I walked into the Accra Community Center Club and I was hooked. What helped me a lot was I came with a mindset ready for full contact. So I suffered a lot less than otherwise I would have. Yes. And so from the harsh training, that is. And right now, I regret nothing I've learned from the professor. Ross, African Goju.
A poem by great warrior Sali Black Phoenix Matlu. African Goju, in rhythmic motion, feet meet earth. African Goju, a martial rebirth. Discipline and strength, a warrior's creed. Respect and honor, every step we take. With every punch and kick, a story's told. Of heritage and culture, young and old. The art of self-defense, a way of life. African Goju, a path to inner peace. We begin not to end but to continue. A journey of growth, day by day. Through trials and tests we find our might, and forge a spirit that shines with light. With each new challenge we rise above. Our limits pushed our hearts full of love. For the art, for the craft, for the brotherhoods and sisterhoods bond. African Goju, a path that's forever beyond. African Goju, the path we chose. African Goju, a way of life. African Goju, we begin not to end, but to continue. Roars.
By 1984, the Martial Arts Institute had spread to Nigeria through Henry Anshirofe and Soli Matlu. In 1985, Danny Guira moved to Nigeria and officially changed to African Goju. In 1986, he added a new system called South American Goju. A new generation of Goju students was thereby born. Thank you for watching part 1 of our history. Part 2 will delve into how, where, when, and why African Goju and South American Goju was formed. Roars.